I just recorded a video that was too long on the phone, so I'm gonna do it here and make it useful, and you can kind of extrapolate the info here because I'm not going to use any names or whatever. But the point is that I think I'll share this that yesterday. Well, so we're all playing a role in the show here. I'm not walking outside, upside down, inside out, with no clothes on, howling at the moon, sober, because that's not the role I'm playing, right? So there's a movie that's playing out for us, and then we're the actors in the movie. And so it's just important so that's one thing, right? So in order to step out of the role that you're in, you'd have to question, you'd have to start to deal with the whole reality, not reality thing. And I think you more so have to deal with not what your reality is, but what is not your reality. What are you saying that isn't real? And that's really a confronting, because whatever you resist persists. Have you heard that? That's a law or whatever in the universe. I don't know, but whatever. It's a clear paradigm of our humanity, which is we're resisting, different ideas, and then the ideas become stronger because they're now resisting force, and that force in this plane of existence is creating is making the thing happen, whatever it is, the duality of it makes it manifest on this plane of existence. So it's just important to note. So anything that you're manifesting on this plane of existence, you need to start, I think, if you don't want to manifest that, probably you want to start to look at what, and this goes back to myth one, but what is the there's reality and non-reality, and essentially we made up that at some point there was a is and is not, right? So kind of that's the first thing. So let me give you an example. So yesterday I'm in the woods with my dogs, right? Which is a very important time for me. Yeah, it's a very special, spiritual, kind of insightful. It's my muse in the woods with these dogs, especially these woods, because this is where I spent a good 2 weeks just living in the woods, right? So I bring my dogs down there and I see what I see, and so Moku, this little French bulldog, goes to cross the river and he's my initial reaction to him running away from me when I let him off the leash. And he's the only dog I put on the leash because I know he's going to run away because he doesn't listen, right? So in my initial reaction perspective to him, I'm going, what the fuck, you asshole? He runs off and is just spazzed out in the woods. And I know, everything will eat him in the woods, a nice little snack, and it's just pissing me off that he's not listening to me. All the other dogs, the Buddy, Sean's dog, Nandi, the spiritual, my Falcor, and then Lulu, right? And then they're all like right next to me, and Moku goes off into the woods, and it's pissing me the hell off, And then he's coming right across he comes right across where there's no bridge, and he falls in the water. And he proceeds to get stuck half in and half out of the water, and I could see him give up. because he was struggling to get up, and then the water's freezing, and he's really tired because he has to jump way higher to get through the snow, you know. So he gives up. I watch him give up. I watch him be half in, half out of the water, and I run over there, I grab him and pull him out, right? But in that moment, I realized that's how his sister died. So a year before Moku came into our lives, his sister, we had his sister for a little bit. And his sister was the nanny. When Trav was like 1 year old, the nanny took the dogs down in the woods. And Maud didn't come back. And this was the one and only time that the nanny takes the dogs into the woods, and the Maud dog doesn't come back. Because she ran off with Lulu, and Lulu can survive, but Maud, no. Like, Maud died in the river. Here's what I realized. This is the important piece. In that moment, I realized that Maud died in the river, right? Yesterday, when I was watching Moku struggle. And I realized that Moku's been reliving his sister's trauma. And the way that he interacts with the other dogs, the way that he interacts with this kind of space is very, very kind of aggressive, you know? The moment I saw that, I could see Moku in a totally different light. I saw him dealing with his sister's trauma. And when I caught him, I got him out of the river, and then he ran away from me, and then I tackled him because he kept running, and I was pissed. I was really pissed because I hadn't quite gotten there yet, but then I looked at him, put him on a leash, I looked at him, and he had this deep sense of despair feeling about him, right? It was as if he just experienced his sister's trauma fully, he got really close to it, right? And I was like, wow, it really hit me. I was seeing that he, if you move somewhere and one of your family members died in that place, you feel it, I'm sure. I'm sure you feel it. I'm sure you do. We just don't have any context for any of this. We don't have any, we haven't had shamans in our culture in this culture that people say is ours, right? The United States stuff, right? In that space, we've trained ourselves to think that this is where we're from, right? This is where we originate from. And so for us, in this, we've kind of isolated ourselves in this thinking that we're white Americans or whatever. We, in our relationship to ourselves and in our experience now of ourselves, we haven't had, spiritual, just straight grounded spiritual leadership, right? And leadership's a bad word because I don't think shaman are leaders really. I think they're able to, this is what they are. They sit in two worlds. They hang out in two worlds, and they just advise the bridge. They support the bridge. So that's not leadership. That's just, so anyway, I use that word wrong. But okay, so if you feel any sort of, if you or your partner or anyone in your surroundings is dealing with suffering suffering over time, we tend to want to address the issue head on and use Western medicine and all of the things that are our society affords us right now, which is we throw all of our resources at it, which is just it's money transaction. It's doot It's a one dimensionality about it. One dimensionality. Transaction is a one dimensional thing. It's very simple. It's you give a thing currency for a product or a service, right? That's a one dimensional thing, right? And I as you know, believe and purport and say in all of the, a lot of these videos that we're multi-dimensional. So even if we're doing 5 different things that are all, transactionally based, it's not the, it's not the whole thing. And I think that our relationship to the people we love can sometimes be one-dimensional. And so it's important to create space in your relationship to the people you love that is multi-dimensional. So you're talking about, 10 things with people. And then just that gives people space to be. I think sometimes, space can be hard. Bubs and I have gone through a lot of really tough space, that I've never been through. I don't know anything about the spaces, but I think I can point to now my gratitude and my appreciation for that, because that's not, typically you would relate to a relationship, and if it's going not the way you want it to, you tend to make some decisions about it, right? And that's where it's been, I think the biggest thing to mention here is that we need to understand that we're pure, we are the space that it shows up in. So being able to give ourselves space to, talk tomorrow, right? Or talk about this thing or that thing, and then allowing for every dynamic, every dynamic dimension, allowing for those dimensions to resolve themselves. Because when we continue to focus on a thing and bring energy and awareness to a thing, it's gonna stay there. That's why I advocate for that, making ourselves, a professional helper. If we're a professional helper in a certain domain, we are making our livelihood about the thing itself. So unless the whole industry changes, it's going to have to keep being such that people need help with this thing so that you can feed your family. That's a lot of energy to put on something, especially in this day and age where we're spending 40, 50, 60 hours a week on a thing. So the predomination of our awareness and our attention going to a problem, we're going to fall so deep into that dimension, creating the same, look at the military, look at the weapons, all of our attention is invested into, problems that are or are not, or need to not. We could go
20, 30, 40 more dimensions deep with this thing, perpetuating the need for the industry itself. Because everyone's got to feed their family, and they feed their family with the weapons they sell, with the identity that they have wrapped up so deeply in that I need to be able to hold a gun. Because we're resisting it. Because we're talking about it. Because our awareness is on it. There's a million, billion, jillion dimensions. So the awareness and the resistance to what is showing up is exactly, you go right back to myth one. The things that we say are real and not real. If you haven't looked at the myth one video, please do. But consider that you have it, that there are some things that are real and not real. So you don't hold everything that shows up. That would be just it's like writing it's the basic. It's the basic thread that you can start to practice, because these things, when you can hold that distinction and separate yourself, by, like I said in the video, when you distinguish a thing, when you distinguish something, you're not that thing, because you're the observer of that thing. So you realize that you're not that thing. So if you can see for yourself, real, not real, you made that up at some point. Human beings made that up. You've said things, that's real, that's not real, that's real, that's not real. That's the distinction. So look at that and notice that you do that. That is not, right? There's just whatever version of it is for you. All right, so, and that looks like if you have a person suffering in your life and you relate to it in a particular way, consider that, you're not relating to it in other ways because the other ways aren't real. And this must be the real and this must be the not real. So you're holding on to this one island of support for that person, where that person is a multi-dimensional, infinite being. You're right here holding on to this little thread, this tiny little thread of whatever, support structures we've invented thus far in the last 200 years of the 10 million years or whatever that human beings have been here, of the infinite amount of beingness that is what's possible for us. It's not even comprehensible. It's beyond words. So to get, and you're probably looking for practical, well, what the fuck do I do then, Well, just understand that you're hanging out on the island, of support for that person. No matter what happens, you'll go up and down and up and down. You'll still be related to that person inside of that layer of support that they need, or comfort, or, like I'm related to Moku the dog, like he's an asshole, because he keeps doing the same thing over and over again. But now, after yesterday, I'm like, oh my God, this dog is so tapped in. And what now? Now I can actually look at him with a new set of eyes and realize that he is severely tapped in, and he might be suffering about his sister for the rest of his days, whatever 10 more years or whatever he's got. But I have space for that. And that's all you can do. You can't do something to. There's no thing you can do other than giving the space for people to do themselves. Alright. That was a good one. So, hope that was helpful.